we're going to look at specifically the content of section A, starting here, and what you can do as the parent to ensure the EHCP reflects your child's needs and aspirations. So that's over to you, Sophie.
Thanks, Lynn. You can hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Can you hear me? Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Okay, thanks, Ellen. Could we go on to the next slide, please? So, strangely enough, the first section I'm going to be talking about of the plan is section A, and just discuss what it is and how to complete it. This section is very much about the contents including the views, interests and aspirations of the child, young person and their parents. It's typically divided into two. There's a section for parents to complete, and there's a second part for the child to either complete themselves if they are of an age or of an ability to do so, or you can complete it on their behalf, or you can invite somebody who knows the child well and the child has confidence in to be able to reflect their views securely and fairly. It's an important area of the plan. It should be written carefully, and it allows you the opportunity to paint a clear picture for everybody of who your child is. We all know every child's unique, and so every plan should be unique for that child. Next slide, please. So section A, as it says here, should include your child's likes and dislikes, their strengths, their difficulties and areas of need, should include details about play, health, schooling, independence, friendships, further education and future plans. It should have details about aspirations and goals for the future, to include employment, independent living and community participation. I think all of this obviously bears relevance to the age of the child. I think if your child's 2 or 3 or 4, you may not yet be thinking about careers, but believe me, it all happens very quickly. Obviously plans get reviewed, and as the child gets older, section A will change according to the aspirations of that child. Most local authorities have produced their own templates for parents to help guide them through their thoughts. You'll find subheadings such as likes and dislikes are widely used. And as I say, it is important to keep this updated, not necessarily at every review, but certainly at transition stages when obviously the aspirations of a child could change quite profoundly. Next slide, Ellen, please. So section A should include a summary of how to communicate with and engage the child or young person in decision making. Their medical history and actually social history should be included, because all of that could be and probably is relevant to the child's additional needs and how they've best met. If written in the first person, the plan should make it clear whether it represents the view of the child or young person, parents or professionals, i.e. who's actually writing this piece of narrative for the plan. An example of this, thinking about a child with a significant vision impairment, would be something like writing words to the effect of, James has got good verbal communication skills, but is unaware of what is going on around him, so must have a social commentary and support for interactive play. He's unable to interpret facial expressions and gestures, so must have help to understand expectations. So that's just one example. You will know your child, and obviously you need to be able to really reflect how you experience them and how other people experience them and how they communicate with the world, really. Next slide, please, Ellen. So reflect your child's needs in terms of top tips, because sometimes it's a bit overwhelming when you're first given this blank piece of paper saying describe your child. You think, ugh. But in anticipation of that, keep a diary, observe specific tasks or events that are stressful or successful for your child, because they want the good and the bad. Ask for the opinions and observations of other people that also know your child, such as family members, known professionals or friends, and keep your own aspirations realistic, challenging but obtainable. Don't necessarily, when they're 4, say that they want to be, I don't know, a spaceman or a rocket scientist. A lot do when they're 4, but I think you need to help these kids keep a bit grounded in terms of their age and realistic expectations at this stage. And then remember the golden thread, which Lynn has already mentioned, and she will talk about that in detail further on. But in terms of what we mean by all of this, so aspirations or ambitions are a significant part of what you write about in section A and of the EHCP as a whole. An example of an aspiration might be James would like to be independent in his learning. James would like to record his own work independently. James would like to make a sandwich without help. James would like to travel to school independently on public transport. Those are just 3 examples of aspirations. And once you and your child have described their aspirations, it's down to the professionals to develop plans for what support is needed in section F, provision, and the associated outcomes in section E to achieve those aspirations. Aspirations can change over time, as I've already said. Long-term aspirations, for example, may have to change depending on whether your child achieves their short or medium-term aspirations. Recording these new aspirations will be important at times of transition and as your child moves nearer to adulthood. Next slide, please.